3 o'clock Eastern today. Sophie Cunningham walks into Barclays Center in Brooklyn with $665,000 on a one-year deal, and Caitlin Clark standing next to her. She walks into that arena as an Indiana Fever guard with no guarantee she'll still be an Indiana Fever guard next November. $665,000, one season, no options, no extensions, no buyout protection. That's the deal Herb Simon put on the table. And 5 days ago, on her own podcast, Sophie called it frustrating. Her exact word, frustrating. Now she's got roughly 20 minutes of basketball in one preseason game this afternoon to make that frustration disappear. Because what happens on that court in Brooklyn today, in her first real game next to Caitlin Clark since her MCL surgery in August, decides whether Sophie Cunningham gets a launching pad or a 12-month audition. And Indianapolis isn't watching her shooting percentage this afternoon. They're watching something simpler. Whether she and Clark look like they belong on the same floor, whether the Indiana Fever backcourt the franchise just bet $665,000 on actually works in real minutes, against real defenders, under real pressure. Because 12 feet behind her, on the bench, sits Raven Johnson, the 10th pick in this year's draft. Out of South Carolina, where she won 2 national championships under Dawn Staley. The Gamecock point guard who held Caitlin Clark to 5 of 20 in the 2024 title game. The player Staley called, and we're quoting directly here, a winner, the kid she doesn't worry about winning with. That's the rookie sitting behind Sophie Cunningham. And here's the part that'll stay with you. At the first day of training camp this month, Sophie herself looked at Raven Johnson and called her, quote, a freaking dog. Think about that for a second. The veteran on a one-year deal just walked into her own team's camp and publicly praised the Dawn Staley-trained rookie who's going to fight her for every minute, every possession, every game check. This afternoon, that fight starts. And it doesn't end in November. It ends in 20 minutes of basketball at Barclays Center in Brooklyn. 2 futures, 1 game. If Sophie looks fast today, if she looks like the guard the Fever traded for last summer, the 665 becomes a floor, not a ceiling. A multi-year conversation gets opened in July. Her next contract, the one she actually wanted this spring, runs past Clark's supermax window and keeps her in Indianapolis until her donkey gets old. If she looks a step slow, and remember, this is her first live game since MCL surgery in mid-August. 9 months ago, 3 months of rehab, 6 months of waiting, then the one-year offer starts looking like the smartest contract on the roster. Raven Johnson's minutes climb. Clark's 2026 backcourt starts rearranging itself around Sophie instead of with her. And the Enforcer Fever fans fell in love with last year, the one who stood in front of Clark when Kennedy Carter came flying. Becomes a rental. 1 game. That's the window. 12 feet behind Sophie Cunningham on that bench this afternoon sits the reason her deal is only 1 year long. Raven Johnson, 5'8", 22 years old, the 10th pick in the 2025 WNBA draft, and the player Dawn Staley spent 4 years turning into a weapon at South Carolina. If you don't know Raven's name yet, you will by November. She won 2 national championships in Columbia. 2. She started at point guard on the 2024 Gamecocks team that went undefeated all the way to the title. And in that title game, in April of 2024, against Caitlin Clark in Iowa, Raven Johnson was the guard Dawn Staley put on Clark. Clark went 5 of 20 from the field that night. 5 of 20. Staley called Raven, and this is the direct quote, a winner. The coach said she doesn't worry about winning when Raven's on the floor. That's the rookie sitting behind Sophie Cunningham. And here's the part that'll stay with you. At the first day of Fever training camp this month, Sophie herself looked at Raven Johnson and called her, quote, a freaking dog. Think about what that means.
Honestly, we got some kind of good rookies. Like, it's exciting. I know a big name was Raven Johnson. She was with South Carolina. And sometimes for me, I'm just not really good at knowing, like, if people's game are, like, if it's going to translate well in the W, you know?
Yeah. I think that's fascinating for all sports. Like,
yeah.
Some people are better in college. Some people are better professionally. And, like, you just don't know when. And I don't know if it's when you peak athletically or as much as it is just like being in different systems and
opportunity.
Like, I just like sometimes it works better in college and sometimes it works better professionally.
Raven Johnson is a freaking dog. we had our first day of training camp, and I just like love her. Like I think she's going to be fantastic, great defensive player, just a really sweet girl and a great teammate so far. So like I'm a big fan. Big fan.
The veteran on a one-year deal just walked into her own team's locker room and publicly praised the Dawn Staley-trained rookie who's going to fight her for every minute, every possession, every game check. Sophie said it because it's true. Everybody in that building knows it's true. Raven Johnson is faster. She's younger. She's cheaper. She's coached by the person who built the defense that shut Caitlin Clark down in the biggest game of Clark's college career. And this afternoon in Brooklyn, Raven gets to show Stephanie White what she does against Clark every day in practice for 20 minutes in front of everyone. Sophie doesn't get a later game. Raven does. Every week of preseason, every week of the season, every minute Sophie gives up this afternoon is a minute Raven gets a chance to take. That's the audition. That's the opponent. That's the clock. And Stephanie White is the one with the whistle. The head coach who dragged this Fever team to within one game of the finals last year, with Clark hurt, Mitchell hurt, Cunningham hurt, and half the roster on the bench, has to decide how to split those minutes. Think about what White already proved. She took a team missing Sophie, missing Clark by the end, missing McDonald, missing Colson, and pushed the Las Vegas Aces to a Game 5 overtime in the semifinals. She was one overtime away from the Fever's first finals since 2015. That fact sits in the back of every rotation decision she's going to make this season. Every play Sophie gives up. Every rebound Raven grabs instead. Every possession where the rookie looks a half step quicker than the veteran. That's data going into White's rotation sheet. Data going into the front office's file on whether the one-year deal gets a sequel. One guard, two candidates, 20 minutes of basketball. And the first data point gets written in Brooklyn this afternoon. It wasn't supposed to be this tight. When Sophie arrived in Indianapolis last summer, she became the one thing this Fever roster didn't have: a real enforcer. Someone who'd stand in front of Clark when the league decided Clark was open season. Someone who'd play every possession like it was personal, because for Sophie Cunningham, it always was. Through her 2025 season and before the injury, she averaged 8.6 points, 3.5 rebounds, 1.2 assists. Not star numbers, glue numbers. The numbers that keep a Caitlin Clark team alive in the fourth quarter. Then in mid-August, on a road trip in Connecticut, her MCL gave out. Surgery, 3 months of rehab. Watching from the bench while the Fever clawed all the way to that Game 5 overtime loss in the semifinals. Watching while Aliyah Boston got her epic extension. The new CBA rule that lets all WNBA rookies renegotiate their fourth-year salary early. And jumped from $574,000 to a full $1 million. Watching while Kelsey Mitchell signed her $1.4 million supermax. Every one of those deals had multiple years on it. And when it was Sophie's turn, she got one. $665,000. 12 months. 5 days ago on her podcast, the one called Show Me Something, Sophie was asked if the deal was better than she expected. She said, no. She said, quote, "It's a little kind of frustrating." She walked it back the next day on social media. Said she wasn't mad about the money. Said she just wanted more years. Said she wanted to settle in Indianapolis. Said she wanted to bring her dog and her donkey to town. But the frustration was real, and everyone heard it. Fever fans have been here before. Anyone who watched this franchise during the Tamika Catchings years, the 15 seasons that ended with Indiana's only WNBA championship in 2012, remembers the veterans who came to Indianapolis to play alongside a generational talent. The enforcers, the shooters, the glue pieces who wore gold at Gainbridge Fieldhouse and earned the right to stay. Some of them stayed, some of them didn't. And the ones who stayed were the ones who proved it on the floor, not in a press conference, not on a podcast, on the floor. Reggie Miller never had to wonder. Tamika Catchings never had to wonder. The 2012 championship roster never had to wonder. Sophie Cunningham walks onto that floor in Brooklyn this afternoon, wondering. 3 o'clock Eastern, Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York Liberty. Sophie Cunningham gets roughly 20 minutes of preseason basketball next to Caitlin Clark. 20 minutes to answer a question that's already half answered. 20 minutes to show Stephanie White she still deserves the minutes Raven Johnson has been preparing to take since the day Dawn Staley recruited her. 20 minutes to turn frustrating into prove it. If she does, the one-year deal becomes a footnote. A longer contract waits at Gainbridge Fieldhouse when this season ends. If she doesn't, it becomes a chapter, and the rest of Caitlin Clark's 2026 gets written without her. 1 game, 1 year, 1 floor. The audition starts in a few hours.